The Five OOOH Podcast.
Five OOOH Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the 5-0 podcast. It's your host Haley, and today I am so excited. I'm here with Brianna. She is a former law enforcement officer. She's a dog mom. She's a police wife, and she is an outspoken voice and advocate for Lasik awareness. So for our listeners who don't already know who you are, which I'm sure a lot of them do already follow you, give us a quick bio about yourself, and then we will peel back the layers on everything we talked about above and more. So you have the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really, Haley covered a lot of it. I am a big LASIK complications advocate. But before all that, I am a dog mom. And I have a golden retriever. His name is Trooper. And we have a Bernese Mountain Dog, and his name is Moose. He is the youngest, and he is my whole heart. I love him so much. And then my husband as well is a police officer in the south suburbs. We actually met in the police academy, so that was really fun. And I know that some of the folks that I actually went to the academy with follow you, so it will actually be their surprise to see me here. So
Oh, I got so excited. That was actually one of my questions, later, is if you guys met before your LASIK or after you and your husband. So I'm excited to talk about that. But yeah.
So he definitely, he keeps me keen on, the laws and all these other, scenarios and things going on. Outside from that, definitely LASIK advocacy is something that's really important to me. And speaking for those who cannot speak for themselves, whether that be just because they simply don't want to, because it is, the attention that you get from it is, it's both good and bad attention from that. So, speaking on their behalf and everything to try to do that. And outside of that, I like to garden, I like to cook, and I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl. I love it. I love it. So we're going to go over first your foundation in law enforcement and how you got there and get a little deeper. But I like to ask everyone the same question just because I feel like we all come from such different walks of life that somehow we end up becoming a police officer or a first responder. So tell us about your family life and growing up.
Yeah, so I grew up an only child. I am we lived in a kind of upcoming town, and it's kind of booming now. It's really growing, but my mom stayed home to raise me, and that was her job, and she did a great job. She's a wonderful mother. And my dad is a wonderful hard worker, and provides everything that he can. Grew up an only child, and grew up just always wanting to be the police. There's a picture of me in actually one of my viral videos with my little police officer Halloween costume on and everything. And I was so excited to have my little kitty cat sidekick, but yeah, I had always wanted to be the police. I kind of changed trajectories a little bit when I went into college, and I said, oh, maybe I want to be a nurse. And that it totally wasn't for me. I was like, oh, I remember talking to my parents about the whole police thing, and them kind of being they were supportive at first, but of course you have to, think about a parent's perspective of, this is my only daughter, my little girl, and she wants to go and be a police officer, so that kind of took them by surprise a little, and, rightfully so, because we don't have any police officers in our family either. So went to college for nursing for a couple years, just to, kind of say I want to, make my parents happy and do all of that. Realized I can't, I can't do that. That's not for me. Went back and I was like, hey, mom, hey, dad, I know you weren't the biggest fans of me becoming the police, but this is what I love. This is what I want to do. I'm really interested in it. And, we chatted about it and everything, and, they wound up coming around. And at the end of the day, they really were seriously, and to this day, are my biggest supporters. And, you would have never guessed that they would have ever at any point been like, no way, my daughter my baby, you know?
Yeah, I can't even imagine like being an only child because I'm trying to think of it like, wow, it's like if your only child wants to go to the army too, like the
Yes,
military.
yes,
It's
yes.
pretty similar in that sense. And because you don't have any, you know, police officers in your family, they don't have
Right.
anyone to be like, oh, well,
That's
you
what
know,
they
uncle whatever was,
do.
so it's okay or whatever. They don't
Right,
have anyone
right.
to talk to about it. So
Mhm.
I get that. 'Cause that
Yeah.
was one of my questions, if you got any pushback
Mhm.
when choosing this career with friends or family, and it sounds like you just more had, like, a loving pushback, like, "We want you to
Yeah.
be safe."
Oh, yeah, it 100%, like, coming from a good place, like, we just want you to be safe as your parents and, look at the state of the world, kinda thing.
Yeah.
And I started policing in a time where it was I mean, it was a low. I mean, it's the George Floyd era and the COVID era, I mean,
Okay.
those were my first days of being a police officer.
So you were, like, what, 2020 is when you started? When you
Yes,
became an officer?
I was, hired on in 2019, and I started, my first day in FDO in 2020.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay, so, yeah, you were in the thick of it.
oh, yeah.
I got to experience, like, 2 good years before,
Mhm.
all that started, but yeah.
The
So
glory days.
yeah, the good old day. I got 2 years. Everyone's like, "Oh, I got a lot more than that," but I didn't. So tell us your background in policing. You worked in a few units. What was your favorite, and maybe what was your least favorite? What did you do while you were on the job?
Yeah, so when I had first started out, I kind of like went in between three different agencies. My first agency that I was with, it was not for me. I actually didn't make it through FTO at all in that first agency. Had a lot of issues. Geography was a big
Oh,
thing
yeah,
for
girl.
me. That was so hard. I had never
Well,
in
we're
my
in the era where we were born with a GPS in our hand, right?
no, and that's the thing. Literally, I sat down in the seat and my field trainer was like, "Here's a compass." And I'm like, "West?
What?
Like, what is this?" Like, honest to God, where's north? Like, I have no idea.
Yeah. No, I still don't.
I so it's like I'm learning how to use a map for the first time. I'm learning how, to just not use GPS for the first time, and God forbid, so that wasn't the easiest. And, when I'm starting out, you know what I mean? I'm fresh out of college. I have no life experience. Like, I was hired while I was like in college. Like,
Yeah, you were 21, 22 when
I
you
was
first started,
22.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was 22 when I had first
Yeah.
started, and no life experience. I mean, and I'm talking to people on domestics, like, I know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean? And, like, be so for real, be so serious.
Yeah.
So that police department did not work out for me, but, I was like, this, it just kind of, like, lit a fire under me, and I was like, "I'm not gonna let this stop me." I worked my butt off to get to where I am, I
Yep.
work built my connections. I was a CSO for some years. I built my connections there. I got hired. I got my bachelor's degree. Like, I am absolutely not. This is not going to stop me. So I went on and I went to my second agency. And they called themselves like a stepping stone agency is kind of
Okay.
they really kind of identified themselves, and it was that was a fantastic agency. I learned a lot there. It was out of my element. It was one of the south suburbs of Chicago, and I grew up I mean, really like a Naperville girl, I mean,
Yeah.
like, like just a very not necessarily there, but just like farm, like a farmland and little like cutesy downtowns,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? Like what you really have to worry about is somebody calling because your dog's barking in the backyard, not a, shooting every other day, or like
Right.
helicopter flying around, for a stolen vehicle task force. Like, that's not something you had to even think about. So
Right.
going to that agency, I wasn't in any kind of a unit until, or like any kind of, I wouldn't even like really call it like a unit or like a specialty until my last department. But my second one, I wasn't in there. It was really just, it was a lot of learning.
Yep.
when learning, get my footing again, get my confidence back, and kind of realize like, hey, you can do this job. And that was really the best thing for me, only because it was like, it took me out of my element and I had to learn, it was like, okay, learn the hard way. This is how life is when, you're not living in a cutesy little farm town with, your teacup chihuahua walking down the street. Like, you got pits and cane corsos and like, no, 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 we're all scared. So, but it was a great agency. It taught me a lot. The people there taught me a lot. Still talk to them to this day. Absolutely.
good.
Still in contact with them. And it was, I really had a hard time actually leaving that agency. It was like one of those things where it was like, I really grew to love it. The small South suburb town, I really like came to love it and the people I was working with. And, I remember like going to my sergeant who, I like say it like he like raised me,
Yeah.
like, hey, like, this is what, I've always wanted to go to this other agency. I really thought about it. There's all these things there that they offer as far as like units go and specialties. And like, that would really interest me. I have a friend that works there and like, he's been trying to get me there since the day I became the police.
Yeah.
And I kept telling him, no, 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 no. And it just like the stars kind of aligned then. And I said, hey, Sarge, this is what I'm thinking. And he basically, for lack of better words, was like, you're stupid if you stay. There's like, you have so much potential within you. And this
Yeah.
small town isn't going to give you what you need. You need to branch out. You're young. You can take that leap. It's okay. Like, you should go. Go. And if you're not going to go, I'm going to be mad at you if you don't go. And I
That's
was
a
like,
good supervisor to be like, go,
yeah.
like
Yes.
do what's best for you and your career.
Right, and that's exactly what he was. He was a wonderful, wonderful supervisor, still is, still in contact with him, and I appreciate him every single day, because I really believe he made me into the police officer that I was, just a fantastic supervisor. But then I wound up, going on to my final agency, which is where, it was a place that I had kind of dreamed of being, but never thought I would be.
Yeah.
And, then getting there, it was very surreal. Like I went to like college in that town. Like, you know what I mean? I knew the town. I shopped there. I was there. You know what I mean? Like I like had basically like not grown up in that town, but my whole childhood was,
Yeah, that's a cool feeling.
so yeah, I was like, wow, like this is amazing. You know what I mean? They had so many more things and, I'm bewildered, going there and I'm just super excited to start over there. And, I wound up, really kind of taking off. I wound up passing, FTO, no problem over there. And geography was, much more simple.
Much
since
better.
wherever I was going.
Yeah.
But I did wind up going into the public information office where, we really we sent out oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a news releases. We dealt with like a lot of the Facebook page, like the Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram, all those kind of posts, those like cutesy,
Crime
yeah, like
Yeah.
crime stats, like putting all those things up, like talking, just like really being the face of the department. I dealt a lot with that. And that was, that taught me a lot too. Like dealing with like the whole like reporter aspect of things and how they can be and all of that. And then I went on to couple that with the with the sex offender unit where we just really like focused on compliance with them and made sure that mess up again and reoffend. So,
Yeah.
we were constantly doing checks and like verifications, making sure they were where they were supposed to be, and they would
Mhm.
and re-verifying every week, day, month, whatever it is that they were supposed to be doing. And that was something that was really rewarding for me because, you get to keep them off the street. And if they
Yeah.
screw up, I mean, I don't feel sorry for it. You know what I
No.
mean? I feel sorry for
Right.
you. Back in jail. I hope you screw up again. Back,
Back in jail.
like, get out of here, so
Yeah.
yeah, so that was, that was really fun. That was rewarding. I was really learning a lot. and like catching my stride with that. I really wanted to take that a little bit further. And by the time I wound up having to resign or like, like medically retire in that sense, I had quite literally just interviewed, and I was just reassigned into a unit that that was like the unit I wanted to be
Dream unit.
It was my dream unit. It was the community-oriented policing unit, like we really dealt more with like the community aspect of it, like community facing, like a part of things. And I literally, it was like I went and I got my LASIK, or it was like the week before I interviewed, I got it. I got my LASIK, and I never got to work a day in the unit. I never got in it. Like my name was there, my desk was there, and I never got to sit at my desk. I was like, dang, like the universe works in weird ways.
Yeah. Wow. Because that was, so I was going to ask you about like LASIK and where it aligned with, your journey and your career.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. I want to get into it then. So let's get into it.
Anything you want to know, I am an open book.
So what prompted you to get LASIK? Let's just start with, because I have LASIK too.
Yeah.
And my dad has LASIK. And I was terrified to get LASIK. And the funniest story my parents will literally tell you is when they came to pick me up after I got the surgery to drive me home, I was on that like Valium or whatever they gave you.
Yes.
And as I'm being carried, like walked out of the lobby, there's people sitting in the lobby waiting to go in. And I'm literally going, don't do it. Run now. Like, my parents are like, you're embarrassing us. Like,
You got the goggles on, and you're like,
but I know that like, God, I couldn't even tell you when I got LASIK, girl. Gosh, I think it was before I became a police officer. Wow. I honestly don't even, I would have to like, look, I don't even remember, but I wear glasses now. It didn't stay for me. I had really, really bad eyesight to begin with.
yeah, I did too.
So what prompted you? Were you just like one day fed up with your contacts or something and you're like, let me get some LASIK? How'd you even come about it?
So for anybody that knew me post LASIK, literally could tell you how terrible my vision was, and how laughably comical my glasses were, like how big they were. They like were a personality trait because they were so big, like their own state. It was like I was like almost -10 in both eyes with
Same.
astigmatism in both. So, it was like the glasses just, they were their own, they had their own property taxes. Yeah, so I had worn those, and ever since I had gotten glasses, since like 4 or 5 years old, it was like as soon as I found out about LASIK, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can never wear contacts again. I can never wear glasses again. Like that seems like quite literally a dream come true, And when you're, and I feel like it's a little bit worse for girls, but when you're going through school and you're wearing glasses, I mean, if you're not
made fun of, you're getting picked on.
If you're like not in, the popular girl crowd or something like that, you're getting picked on because you have, because you have glasses. And my glasses were huge. So it's like, of course I was getting picked on for it. You know what I mean? Like my eyes looked like they were like teeny tiny little raisins, I mean, yeah, like of course I'm gonna get picked on. So, it was something where it was like, oh my gosh, and it kind of like hits your inner child, and you say like, oh my gosh, like, I'll never have to wear these again. Like, that's so amazing, So, ever since I knew I could get it, I wanted it. And when I got into working for like this, like the law enforcement field in general, even just as a CSO, I was like, this kind of sucks. Like just wearing, my glasses every so often. Going to the police department, like I had an issue or whatever where like I had gotten like an eye infection and I needed to wear for like a couple of weeks my glasses on shift. And oh my God, horrific. I was like, this is terrible. I was like, if I am in a fight and my glasses
exactly. Yeah.
I was like, what? Like I'm just a walking liability with a gun. Are you kidding me? So I was like, I need to get LASIK at some point, you know. And then when things finally stabilized, and I was at my, my third, my third and final agency, I was like, okay, like, the things are like kind of written in the stars. Things are really kind of, falling into place here. I'm going to get my LASIK, like I just got into the unit that I wanted to get into. I'm finally here, like we had just bought a house, like, like I was like, it's time. And so,
Yeah.
I had gone in then and, I had gotten it. And, I was really, really excited because of course, like you go in and you're like, you've been wearing your glasses for however long up until that point that they tell you, and it's like,
Yeah.
can't wait to get these things off my face.
Wow. So did you have complications immediately
I
following your surgery?
I did. And I thought that the complications that I was having,
Were normal?
supposed to have them, I was like, "Oh, this is weird, but it's not even 24 hours post-surgery, so it's supposed to be weird, right? Right?"
And what was the weird feeling? Like, can you describe it? Like, because I remember um my parents like literally being on top of me because they said like you had to open your eyes and you had to like blink. And I was
Yeah,
so afraid to open my eyes because I was
yeah.
afraid I was going to be blind. So they
Mhm.
were peeling my eyes open. I'm like, I won't open them. So they're like peeling my eyes open. And I remember it feeling like sandpaper, like my eyes feeling like so dry because you had to put those drops in and like sandpaper. What were you feeling?
That's exactly right. So, like, I mean, immediately after surgery, my eyes, I mean, they hurt, but I mean, they should hurt because you just got a laser shot into your eyes. So,
Yeah.
sounds like it would be normal.
Right.
And for the most part, and that's exactly what I felt. It felt like sandpaper or like almost like little pebbles in my eye.
Hmm.
Like you close your eyes and you like, move your pupil around. It's like I just wanted to keep it like set in one spot because anytime I would like look around like with my eyes closed, or like move your pupil, it would hurt.
Oh, okay.
So, it was like, oh, like this, like, kind of stinks. But, they give you those drops and, like the medicated ones and then the non-medicated ones that you're just like supposed to use every hour. You're supposed to use those medicated ones every so often
Mhm.
throughout the day. And after a couple of days, that pain started to subside.
Okay.
And I mean, like, I got LASIK and I mean, yeah, okay, I could see, like, I mean, like, I'm not wearing glasses right now and I can see, I mean, like, for the most part. But when as far as pain goes, like I said, that pretty much started going away after like a couple of days. But immediately after, I was like experiencing and seeing things that I had never seen before, like with my prior vision, even with bad vision. I was seeing like these really strange, it almost looks like TV static, like in your eyes, like all the time. Like right now, like there's like little like dots all over the place when I'm looking at you. And they're called floaters. Some
Okay.
people see them and they're like black and speckly. Some people see them like transparent, where you only see like the outer outline, and that's what I see. So I can kind of see through them, but it's a really annoying static. So I experienced that right away. Like I pretty much, I mean, they tell you what, go home, go to bed, go home, take a nap right after your
Yes, yes.
surgery, and that's what I did. I went home and I was sleep. Like
Slept. Yeah.
I had taken 2 Valium that they gave
Mhm.
me. I was
Yeah.
honked out for like the rest of the night. So, whatever it was, like 15 hours later, whenever I woke up from my hibernation, I had woken up and I'm like, this is weird. Why do I see like this? But it was those floaters. I was seeing like double vision when I was looking at like electronic screens, and it was like only electronic screens. But with like captions on a TV, I was seeing like a really weird drop shadow down and to the right. For any text on screen, that's what I was seeing. And I'm like, man, that's really strange. I don't remember seeing like that. And then when nightfall came is when I really noticed the biggest issue, which I went to go let my dog outside and we back up to a roadway, like it's like a pond and then a roadway. And obviously cars zooming back and forth all the time and quite a few different street lights. And I had looked outside and I'm like I just saw orbs basically, just like
Yeah.
like really big lights just like moving in my visual field. And I'm like,
Oh, moving.
sick.
Oh, wow.
This makes me ill. And I was like,
Wow.
insane. So basically every light source at nighttime is like quadruple, the size that it should be when I'm looking at it. And that's called those are starbursts, those are halos. Um and glare, those are also called higher order aberrations as well. So, anything like past, dusk or dawn, or I'm sorry, anything before dusk or dawn, the lights outside are giant. The street lights, the car lights, any reflection, anything like that. I had noticed that, and I'm like, that's what it looked like when I took my glasses off. Like, I'm like, why aren't I
Right.
seeing? Like, I shouldn't be seeing that with no
Wait,
glasses.
are you at this point thinking like it's kind of still normal, maybe? Like,
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
say anything yet? Or
No, I didn't. I didn't say anything until I had to go back to work because the doctor had said, like, oh, just give it a couple days, you'll be fine. A couple of people at work had actually told me, because I was talking about getting LASIK, and then I had gone to a couple of people that had gotten it. I said, hey, who'd you go to? And all of them said that they had gone to the same person. I'm like, okay, you're fine. This is great.
okay.
So,
Oh, jeez.
I went to the same guy, and I was like, okay, well, everybody else is fine, that had gotten LASIK by this guy that I work with. So, I'm just, my vision was bad. I'm sure it'll just take a minute. And I was set to go back to work. I want to say like 3 days later, 3, 4 days later. And I had, realized the day before, I was like, I am not quite better yet. Like, I'm not good to go yet. Like, I'm still seeing all these really strange things. Like, I don't think I'm okay.
So that journey when you weren't feeling okay, like you were like, something's a little bit off.
Yeah.
What doctors did you visit or who helped you? Did you call the guy who gave you LASIK and were you like, is this normal? And like, where do you even go? Like, what
So
do you
when the surgeon like did the LASIK or whatever, like you're given this like form or whatever, and it's got his number on it. I don't know if it's no, I don't know if it's his personal number or his like work phone, or I don't know what exactly it is, but they're like, call this number, you'll get to the surgeon if you have any immediate questions. I had called the surgeon once. It was like a day after, and he was like, oh, what you're experiencing is normal, don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, okay, yeah, no problem. And I had called him way, way, way later in my journey. He never picked up. I did. I went back to the same LASIK place, the same place that had done my LASIK. And I was like, hey, I'm still like not better, and I'm supposed to go back to work tomorrow night. I can't go back. I'm, kind of nervous to go back. And he's like, oh, yeah, no problem. Like, you should be good. And, another couple of days, he was like, if you're good to go back in another couple of days, you can go. I'll write you out for another couple of days. He writes my note, and he's like, yeah, like your vision was really bad. So I wouldn't really worry about it. Sometimes you just take a little bit longer to heal because your vision was so bad. And I was like, okay, that sounds like it makes sense.
Right.
Don't really worry about it. 3 weeks should be like your
3 weeks?
yeah. So he goes,
Holy
yeah,
shit.
3 weeks should be your magic number. If you're still feeling bad after 3 weeks, come back in and see me. And I'm like, okay, so
At this point, are your parents kind of freaking out or no?
yes and no. I had, like they were very aware of what was going on. I had moved out by that time. I had, my own house, and I was having my
With your
now
boyfriend? Okay.
yeah.
Was he
And
freaking out? Or was he like, give it the 3 weeks? Was everyone kind of
yeah, it was very much like, well, the doctor said, and that's what I was saying too, like, oh, the doctor who I, grow up to trust is saying that I should be fine. So why wouldn't I be fine? So, 3 weeks comes and goes, and I'm like, hey, doc, what the fuck? Like, hey, why aren't my eyes getting better? Because I need to figure out what I need to do here. Like I need to figure out if I need to start using my sick time. I need to figure out like, can I even work a light duty? Anything. And
right?
it became to the point where he was acting like I was a burden to him, the doctor, for coming in and sharing my experiences. And he was like looking at me like I had three heads. Like, he was like, this is kind of crazy that you're saying this. This isn't something that I've heard. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean you haven't heard about this? Like, and he's like,
You don't know complications on surgeries you're performing?
right. And he's like, oh, like, I haven't heard of this. And, you just need time to heal. Like, just, don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Like, you'll heal. It just takes time. And I'm like, okay, doc, how do I go to my police lieutenant and tell him, oh, it just takes time when I have a job to go back to? I was like, I'm sorry, but my lieutenant doesn't understand. Oh, just wait it out. No, I need a timeline.
So that was my next question. When you were suffering these complications and you have, obviously your job is still active, did your police department support you or understand what was happening?
They did support me. But I mean, in a way, it's like they kind of have to, especially, when you have a union involved and you're using what is afforded to you in your union contract,
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
We wound up having, I had 9 months of paid leave. And
Okay. So you did as much as you could.
I did.
Yeah.
And up until really like pretty much like the last day, I had thought that I was going to be able to, be fixed or get better and all of that. But I mean, they were supportive, but I did have to go, just per policy to see a doctor, every 30 days. So
Right.
every month, I would go, for the eye doctors to reevaluate me. And it was the same song and dance every single time. I go in there and it's like, how are you doing? And it's like, still bad, still can't see at night. And I had found out, like after like the first time it rained, that I also couldn't drive in the rain.
Ah.
It was November, so it had started snowing. The snow was giving me the same kind of issue. So it was like just more and more and more issues, were just like kind of coming to light with it. And I couldn't even go and do light duty because I didn't have 8 hours in the day to go and work because of daylight savings time. I mean, it's 40 minutes to work and then it's 40 minutes back. Like there is no 8 hours. There's no 8 hours. I can't go. So I had.
Did you even look at a computer screen or was that too hard?
So I could and I can, but I do like I experience those visual disturbances. So like if there are like words on the screen, I'm seeing like double of those words and like down and like to the right, like this really strange drop shadow. And it's like I can use my phone, I can look at a computer screen, but I can't do it for long periods of time. I need to take like frequent breaks. I mean, like I'm like blinking like quite a bit, like here, and just kind of like looking off to give like my eyes a break for a second.
Right.
So
I'm sure that was really hard to describe to people too. It's like, because no one could feel what you're feeling. And this is something like different than not, obviously, even these eye doctors you're going to probably never had someone in their chair.
Right.
Or experience this.
Right. Or so they say, because I didn't start having a real conversation with an eye doctor until after I left the Lasik industry.
Right.
The first doctor that I saw after I left the Lasik industry told me, yeah, your eyes are permanently damaged from Lasik. You're never going to be fixed. And I said, excuse me?
Wow.
And that was a tough pill to swallow. I said, oh man, this was not something I wanted to hear after I left the LASIK community.
Right. Like I wanted you to give me a little hope.
Yeah.
Like there's something that we could do. Like the LASIK guy just didn't know, but the eye doctor does.
Right. And then, they had told me the LASIK doctors too, something that they had told me to do was to use something called Lumify. Are you familiar with Lumify at all?
Yes.
Yeah. So, one of the eye doctors that I had seen from the LASIK, whatever the LASIK branch tree, was like, yeah, like you could try the over-the-counter Lumify so that when you drop it in your eye, your pupil shrinks and you can see better because that's the issue that I experienced. So,
okay.
Basically what had happened during the surgery was either my eyes didn't dilate properly.
That's so scary.
Right. Something had happened that was and I don't know if it's or if it's within anybody's control. No idea. But when they were operated on, the optical zone, or the area that they did the surgery in, like on my eye, on my pupil, they made it too small. So now when I'm in a dark room, when it's nighttime, if I don't have a bright light shining on me, like this is a pretty dim room. It doesn't look like it is, but I have a light shining on me so I can see better. But when my pupils get too big, they get bigger than the optical zone that was worked on. So now I'm seeing my old -10 vision with bad astigmatism again, and my new prescription at the same time. So it's like I'm
Ooh,
so
that makes sense. Okay.
so she was like,
Wow.
"Oh yeah, use the Lumify, and use 1 drop per eye. You can use it every day, and you'll be good. Like it will shrink your pupil enough to where you'll be able to see." I was like, like that doesn't sound right.
Sounds too easy.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
that's strange. So, I wound up looking into Lumify. There are a plethora of side effects for Lumify. It is not meant to be used every single day.
I was gonna say every day, multiple times a day doesn't sound right.
Oh no,
Yeah.
it's a blood vessel constrictor. I mean, it literally it could cause a lot of issues if you use it every day. It could cause a dependence, like just a
Oh wow.
okay. And I said to myself, I was like, well, I read these side effects because I'm like, okay, I've already been steered wrong by a doctor by, their recommendation of Lasik.
Trust
Let
is gone.
let me check and just, make sure that I should put this into my eyes. And, lo and behold, it is not safe to be doing that all the time. And I wound up trying it just to try it. I said, okay, let me just check it off the list. You know what I mean? So I said, I'll try it one time. And I did 1 drop per eye, just like I was supposed to, just like I was told. I went and I looked outside, no change. I said, okay.
Wow.
I went back to the bathroom. I did it again. 2 drops per eye, no change. Went and did it again. 4 drops per eye. I saw literally the most minute change. And I was like, this is insane. I am never doing this again because I can't
Do 4 drops an eye every day to
Right,
have a minute change.
Right. And it's not even a big enough change to be able to see or travel at night in the rain, like nothing. And to say that you're recommending Lumify to me, the surgeon that I got my eyes done by, the surgeon that operated on my eyes helped make Lumify. Like, that's strange. That's really strange that you're
Holy
suggesting
shit.
that I go and buy Lumify that you helped make.
Wait, that is wild.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
about the NDA. Now, I don't know how much you could talk about it, but was it the specific surgeon who sent you the NDA, or was it LASIK in general that sent you the NDA?
Yeah, no, I can talk about it fully. I have the
You didn't sign anything, right?
Nope. I have the entire NDA posted on my page. Like if you pause on the video, you can read the entire thing. I literally only redacted my name out of it.
Okay.
Which
Yeah. No, I saw. I just
really available.
I don't understand it. I'm like,
Yeah. So it was from LASIK Plus. So they sent me that.
so the general LASIK,
right.
like LASIK. Okay.
Yes. And they said, basically, hey, we understand that you're unhappy with it. But we investigated everything that you said and looked over all the medical records that you sent, because I followed up with them and I was like, hey, or well, actually, no, pause. I had written a review on Facebook, and I was very straight up about my experience. I'm like, this is ruining my life. I'm on month 6 or whatever, and this is terrible. And I wound up commenting underneath somebody else's post, and I'm like, yeah, my eyes are I can't see right, and blah, blah, blah. And LASIK winds up commenting back to me. And they're like, we take allegations like this very seriously. Let us follow up with you. And I'm like, you're going to follow up with me after I've been in your office every 3 days explaining how upset I am and talking to your doctors and your surgeons and your front desk staff. Now you're going to reach out to me because I'm publicly posting that you ruined my eyesight. Okay. So, they reach out to me and they're like, yeah, we've done a thorough investigation of ourselves and have found no, for real, of ourselves. And we have found no wrongdoing. I'm like,
Okay.
due process? What are you kidding? So I was like, right, okay. And there attached was a DocuSign. And I'm like, yeah, okay, what does this say? Like, they're like, yeah, we'll offer you half of what you paid for your surgery. No, yeah. Half of what you paid.
$2,000,
Yeah.
please.
And I was like, 2 grand. I was like, I lost I lost
I
a
lost
month.
everything.
Are you kidding? So, I had read it and I was like, man, I was like, you have to wonder how many people express their discontent with the industry or with their results, which people that are unhappy with a product or a procedure or something are much more apt to explain that they are upset with it than the people that are happy with it. So
Yeah.
uh, you have to wonder how many of these people saw that NDA or saw that DocuSign in their inbox and said, "We'll
Wow.
give you half of your amount back after you've lost part of your eyesight. You've pretty much lost your job and your livelihood. You can't even work to get money, or you can't have any gainful employment. So you've immediately hit financial strain. That
Right.
$2,000 could mean, somebody losing their car or losing their house and just
Right.
being able to make it another month. How many people have signed this without reading the terms? And the terms being delete everything you're saying about LASIK Plus over all of your social medias, delete your reviews, don't say you got this NDA, don't talk about the terms, you can never sue us again. You can't do this, you can't do that. Oh, also, this NDA and us giving you $2,000 is not us saying that we did anything wrong. We're just your fan. And I'm like,
$2,000. Maybe if you offered me 2 million.
no, I'm like, you gotta offer me a whole lot more. It was like 2 grand. Like you have literally got to be kidding me. I was like, 2 grand isn't even my mortgage. You need
Like 1 month. 1 month.
yeah. So I looked
Jesus.
at that, I laughed at it, and then 2 days later created my account purely out of spite. So
That's you're leading me into my each next question. It's perfect. So you went viral and you spoke out about your complications.
Mhm.
Did you get a lot of people reaching out to you that had similar complications?
I did. There were, I mean, the amount of people, just through, I mean, on my TikTok account, I wound up reaching, I mean, I was like over the moon to reach 5 people. Um,
Right.
but on my TikTok account, it reached like 1.5 million or something in a couple of days. And I was getting message after message after message, just saying like, I'm somebody that went through this, or I'm going through it right now, or
Right.
and then I wound up really I only made the Instagram account because of the whole like TikTok ban thing. And it's been like really the best decision that I've ever made. Um
Yeah.
and I like posting that video reaching, whatever it is, 28 million views now.
Literally so many people. I
Right.
mean,
Within such a short amount of time, the amount of people that have reached out to me in my inbox. I mean, at one point, I spent 6 hours
I'm
just
sure.
responding to, messages in my inbox because it was people that were like begging for help or saying, have you tried anything? Or do your symptoms get better?
Anything work for you?
Like,
Wow.
yeah, like people that are scared, or even the people that thought that they were the only person in the world experiencing these symptoms.
Right.
That's what they were made to believe, have then come across my video and they're like, oh my God, there's an entire community of us. And it's like, unfortunately, yeah, but they're made to believe that they're the only people that have these kind of complications because the LASIK industry looks at you like you have 10 heads. This is never happening to our patients.
Right.
It's so
So
sad.
you probably saw recently, but there was an officer recently that took his own life.
Yeah.
A police officer
Mm.
from LASIK complications.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is such like an it's an actual problem because I found it funny. I looked at my old like applications to police departments. And if you go, or I'm sorry, not police departments, federal departments. At one point I was trying to go federal. And the only way you can get a federal job is if you have 20/20 vision. You have to have LASIK and you can't have glasses. You have to have 20/20 vision. And you have to be able to pass like an eye exam, I think, without glasses or something. I was reading into it, and it literally says in the thing, like, to get LASIK.
Yeah.
And I
States are like that for the police force too.
or some
What I
police,
finding
some
out.
police job is like
Mhm.
they recommend you
Yeah.
getting LASIK.
Right. Mhm.
What would you say to like a first responder who's thinking about getting LASIK?
So, I mean, I would just say don't do it. I mean, don't risk your eyesight. You only have two pairs of eyes. You know what I mean? If you're thinking about getting LASIK, just know that stories like mine are out there. Know that stories like Ryan Kingerski's are out there. Know that stories like, I mean, like there are so many of us, and there are so many police officers too that have complications with LASIK that don't want to speak up about it. They don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to lose their livelihoods. And, I mean, I can, I can understand that. That's something that I can totally understand. But there are some nasty, nasty complications that exist out there that are, I mean, sometimes worse than mine that, quite really drive people to kill themselves. So
Do you have any idea, or have you been able to connect with Ryan's family about I don't want to speak like on him in a bad way, but I just wonder what his complications were. Because I have heard of other people committing suicide from LASIK. And I just wondered, were you able to connect with his family at all?
Yeah. So, to kind of like piggyback off of what you were saying of like, a lot of people doing it, a really notable person that people like always will, say is like, oh, there was a meteorologist that, committed suicide because of LASIK complications. And her name was Jessica Starr. And she was, I believe it was a Detroit meteorologist, or like a newscaster, and she
Okay, so she had like a public platform.
Yes, and she took her life, and that's the story that, everybody usually goes to, where it's like, "Oh, there was a popular newscaster who, killed herself because of the complications." Her name was Jessica Starr. So, as far as Ryan's family goes, I actually was talking with Ryan, so I know Ryan.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he reached out to me on my TikTok, actually. Um and he was talking to me and he was like, "Hey, like, I'm a police officer too. I got LASIK at LASIK Plus. These are the issues that I'm having. Like, our stories sound really similar." He was like, "I'm on disability too." And like, oh my gosh, I was like, wow, like talk about somebody who just gets it, like
Right.
going through the exact same thing. He had gotten it after me. I don't remember the exact date that he told me. But he had gotten LASIK after me. So, he's like, how are you coping? What are you doing? He's asking me, like how I'm, like if there's, anything that I've done, if I've tried, scleral lenses, or you know what I mean? And, we were in, pretty like, we were like talking off and on, like, when we would be able to get a message off to each other or, like we would comment back and forth on each other's things. And, he was very, very, very much an advocate against LASIK. He was a,
Oh, you're right.
complications advocate. And it was like I hadn't heard from him in a while. I had just kind of figured like, like life had gotten, like, ahead of both of us, like, we would catch up with each other.
Yeah.
And I had gotten this was so eerie. Like this gives me like goosebumps, like even like talking about it. I was on my laptop and I was actually looking up to like kind of, just kind of like refresh my memory on like some of the like LASIK statistics and,
Yeah.
just like doing my due diligence and like doing some research and everything. And I had quite literally I was like copy pasting a suicide statistic of almost 40 people committing suicide because of LASIK, but those are known cases because
Right.
families don't want to come.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, these are 40 known and confirmed cases. And I was in the middle of, making my own little spreadsheet for like somebody that had asked about, like the whole like statistics part of things.
Yeah.
I had this copied for the almost 40 people with many known and many more unknown and unconfirmed, had it copied, like highlighted on my computer screen. And like up and out comes this little mail notification to, like an email notification.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and I was like, "What is this?" And I'm like reading like the little preview and in the message, and it was like, "Hi, like I found your Instagram or I found your TikTok and I'm reaching out to you because my nephew was a police officer too." And he, he had LASIK and he killed himself, and I'm on my way to his funeral. And I, sat here and, like I said, it, gives me, the, craziest goosebumps, and I was sitting here and I was like, "Oh my god, like, that sounds way too familiar to Ryan."
Holy shit.
So I was like, he left his phone number to call him. He was, and I was like, and I was, going back and forth. I was like, do I call? Do I not call? Do I call? Do I not call? And I just kind of I was just like, I'm just gonna call. And I wound up calling, and I was
My God, chills.
yeah, and I was talking to the person who had reached out, his uncle, and I was just kind of like, "Hey," I was like, I don't know how else to ask or to come out and say it. I was like, "But was his name Ryan?" And we just kind of both sat here in silence for a second because he confirmed that it was, and he had no idea that we were talking. He had no idea that
Wow.
that it, that connection and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so just it was so heavy. So, I have been in very, very close contact with his family
Glad.
ever
I'm
since
glad.
we found out that had happened, and he took his own life because of LASIK complications. And, I mean, and that's, I mean, as much as you can get it, I mean, that's confirmed. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, he wound
And
up
the craziest part is if he didn't, I don't know if he told his family, but if he didn't, and like you said, he took his own life, if he had never reached out to you, no one would know
making
that it could have been from LASIK complications.
No, nope, nobody would have known because that's what,
Right.
like myself right now and another LASIK complications advocate, his name is Hayden Hutchins. He has I mean he's got complications worse than I do, but I mean Ryan was suffering from pretty much all of the same complications that I am. And those are the higher order aberrations, those starbursts, glare, halos over all of those dark lights, not being able to drive in the rain, the double vision, the floaters, the text ghosting. I mean, you have debilitating migraines because of all of those visual disturbances, and then just relentless dry eye too.
Oh,
Uh, I
so every time you blink, it's a pain.
it's
It's a,
yeah,
it's a,
look,
it's,
it is uncomfortable.
yeah.
Some people it's debilitating,
Yeah.
absolutely debilitating.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very aware of my eyes at all times. You know what I mean? Just from blinking.
Yeah.
Ever used to, and that's the only way I can describe it is you're very aware that your eyes are there, and you're very aware that you're blinking.
Yeah.
So, he was experiencing a lot of the same, symptoms that a lot of people experience. And like I said, we were really able to connect over the fact that we were both cops, we were both on disability,
Right.
and we were having the same complications, I mean,
Yeah.
and those complications that he was having. And those were the complications that drove him to take his own life. And like I said, Hayden and I have been, we have been posting with his family's permission about
Yeah.
Ryan to
Right.
share his story, and his parents are rightfully outraged at the least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Really, it took the life of their son, and it's totally not something that should even be happening. It's not. It's a completely elective surgery that the doctors were
Right.
uninformed to get. I mean, they attack your inner child. They tell you you're going to be safe, and at the end of the day,
Right.
you're and you go back there and you express your very valid concerns, and they make you feel like you're the only person in the world that is experiencing these things. And it
Or
just
just say, come back in 3 weeks and keep pushing you. Oh, you'll take a little bit more time. And
right. And then you wind up running into those people, that say like, oh, I had LASIK, it was fine, and it's like, well, thanks. Like, thank you
yeah.
for nothing,
I wouldn't say even my experience has been fine because I need glasses to see at night and the lights are super starburst for me without wearing glasses.
Mhm.
And I don't remember if it was like that before at night, but I don't think it was.
Yeah.
So what are your hopes for the future and what can we expect from you?
I hope you're gonna see my name in other places. I would hope that in, 10, 15 years that the LASIK industry is in the trash can,
Yeah.
like I cannot serve my community anymore. I cannot do what I always wanted to do. And, like little me is proud for what I did, but I can't do that anymore. And the only way that, I could help people now, which was my big reason for becoming a police officer,
Exactly.
keep helping people outside of that and continue to advocate and continue to use my voice and, really just be loud about it and, just try to use my voice to reach as many people as I can, just to let them know that, LASIK is not safe. LASIK is not what what the doctors show it to be. It is not just, you go and you take 2 days off. It's not a weekend thing and then you're all fine and you go back to work because some people never return to their, previous point of life. So, I hope to advocate and I hope to keep doing that. And, doing, podcasts like this or interviews like this is a huge way to get that information out there, just to get advocacy going.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely doing the right thing. And I was going to say the same thing as you. It's like you wanted to serve, you wanted to help, you wanted to
Yeah.
protect. And unfortunately, that dream job
Mhm.
isn't, you can't do it anymore, but you still are protecting people. You still are serving. You're still doing all the same things, just in a different form. But
Right.
you're going to help save a lot of lives this way as well.
Right.
So,
I'm
well,
hoping,
again, you will.
like just being able to, talk to people and
Yeah.
and like, the message I'm getting or like messages that I'm getting like in my inbox, just like the whole like, I didn't know that there were more people like this, or, oh my gosh, like I was alone, and it's like, you are absolutely not alone. Like,
Or
please.
people just canceling their appointments, like having
Oh,
an
right.
appointment, seeing your stuff and being like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go
Right.
anymore.
Right. That's a win. That's a win.
Yep.
No.
Where can people find you if they want to follow you online, follow your story, or connect with you?
So I'm on Instagram and TikTok right now as Blurry But Blooming. And I also have an email as well. And it's blurrybutblooming@gmail.com. So any inquiries, questions, anything, anybody can reach out. Totally fine. Always open.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing your story and being so brave and so outspoken. And I adore you. And I hope we stay connected. And I can't wait to share your story with you
Yeah,
or with everyone. With you.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.